like me respecting that they're telling me that they're depressed. It's not me feeling sorry for them. It's me like acknowledging what's real. Just like if somebody tells me about their gender identity and self-reports that to me,
Okay.
not me feeling sorry for them. It's just respecting or acknowledging that happens in reality.
Do people lie?
Yes, they do. Just like people lie about depression. We have ways to figure out self-reports and lies and things like that.
We do?
We're not just like oblivious to lies. We're not just, oh no, people lie in the world. We can't discover.
If someone says
now.
they're depressed, how do we know they're lying?
Well, there's lots of different ways. I'm not a doctor, but there'd be lots of different ways.
If someone says they're trans,
so, like,
how do we know they're lying?
If for example, like somebody said, well, that's the easy part. I gave an example of that to Nathan earlier, right? About the prison thing. So let's say somebody says, you've got them on recording and they're like horrifically like transphobic or something all their life. And then the day before they're going into prison, you've got them on recording saying to their mate, like, oh, this new gender shit, I'm going to like finagle the system and claim I'm a woman. Well, then when they turn up the next day and say that they're a woman, you could probably say that they're lying. Like there are.
So over time.
There are ways you can do that, right?
Yeah, over time. You can tell, right?
Well, you can't exactly tell what's in someone's head, but yeah, you can make reasonable inferences.
So if someone says
actually depressed or whether someone's actually just faking depression or whatever.
Yeah, so if someone says they're depressed on day 1 and day 2 comes around and they're happy again,
well, then they might be bipolar. It depends. You might.
Yeah, or maybe they were just sad, and we have sad days, we have good days. So does the same thing hold for trans then?
Yeah, it's like so. Yeah, the imagination of people or the ability for people to lie doesn't automatically make us dumbfounded when it comes to self-reports of depression or self-reports of gender identity.
Right. But the main point I'm making is that the reason why we separate the terms, the gender terms from the biology terms, is because of this idea of objectivity versus subjectivity. Self-ID is a very subjective thing. Yeah, I know.
To me, it's this like free-flowing form of language.
For you,
and how language actually operates in the world. And
for you answer whatever you think goes to your values. That's basically what I learned from you.
No, my values influence things.
Yeah, with the doctor, you would use female in a biological sense. With Meredith, you would use it. Well, Meredith likes to be.
The context.
You would view it as because you respect the gender identity, but with me, then it goes against your values, and then you would say, no, I don't respect your definition.
Yeah, just like if someone's horrifically, like if 99% of the world was horrifically racist, it would be like again, what is this argument? Yes, it gives me utility to be horrifically racist in that world. I would still not do it because it clashes with my values.
Yeah.
Oh, got me. What?
Yeah. Well, no.
What
it sounds like
are you making here?
I'm understanding you.
My values influence. Okay.
I'm just trying to understand you, but I would say that the vast majority of people in society would say, even those who would consider themselves trans activists or supporting of the queer community, they would really separate gender terms from biological terms. Do you?
Yeah, I do as well in most cases.
Yeah, in most cases, unless it hurts people's feelings, which you call being empathetic to their identity.
No. If it gives me utility to do otherwise.
Yeah. But
it's not about hurting people's feelings. I don't know where the hell you've got this from.
But unless the utility goes against your values.
Like it's getting dishonest at this point. Like I've told you, no, that's not the reason.
I understand what you're saying,
and I've broken down the reason. Like I broke it into multiple parts and where the impetus for the reason comes from and where the end point comes from. Like why are you just going back to this thing over and over over again?
Well, have I said anything? Have I steelmanned you incorrectly?
Like secretly, Doug, I think the reason you're making all of these arguments is because you're like, I don't know, let's make it something like secretly attracted to trans people. And then you tell me you're not, and then like in 5 minutes again, I just randomly will just announce like it's gonna get like boring or dishonest. Like what are you doing? Actually just address what I've said. I've not said anything to do with feeling sorry about somebody. When you've tried to pin that on me, I've pushed back and said how it's actually the opposite.
What I mean by feel sorry for,
like why are you lumping that back on me again?
Boy, you talk a lot. When I say feel sorry for, what I mean is you are respectful of one's internal experience and their pronouncement of who they are.
Yeah, but I clarified I'm not using respect in the way that you're like trying to use it, as in like listening to somebody and then wanting to be nice to them. I'm using respect in the words of like acknowledging what is reality, and I clarified that's what I meant by that.
Acknowledging what is reality.
So this whole idea of pinning it back onto like feeling sorry for somebody, you're basically saying because you.
I will not say that anymore because it seems like it hurts your
people.
feelings to say to feel sorry for them. So I won't say that anymore. I'll just use the word empathy.
It's just stupid.
You're very empathetic. How's that? Is that better?
Okay. Again, me acknowledging reality is not a facet of my empathy.
Okay, when you say
It's me acknowledging reality.
Can I say something for like 10 seconds without you interrupting?
I wait until you finish speaking, and then I ramble on for a bit. I don't seem to have been interrupting you, Doug. So yes, you can, as you have been doing all along.
To say someone born with a penis and testicles is male, is that acknowledging reality?
If that's how you're defining male, then yeah, in that context. And I said I would do it in that context.
Okay, so that is a type of acknowledging reality. So if Meredith were to say that she's
if reality is like,
hey, I thought you just said you would wait for me to pause.
I thought you did pause, and then I stopped speaking when you continued.
So if a person, we'll take this off Meredith. If a person says, I was born with a penis, testicles, I'm not intersex, but I'm female. Does that comport to reality to you?
Well, then it would be a different usage, I assume, right? If they're talking about, if they add an addendum on that, and they're like, and we're talking just the biological sense, the sense that Pinecreek Doug talks about, then my answer to that would be no. But yes, they're not doing that, Doug. They're doing another, like, for example, like, I don't know, you might use the word like femme fatale, or like some like female word or something like that to refer to like a woman, and the person doing that might be trans inclusive. And so for me to be like, oh, they're only talking in biological senses, for me to misunderstand them. And so I don't want to misunderstand people. I want to acknowledge what they're actually saying.
Okay, so we're in a hospital and a person comes in with a penis and testicles, and they need some type of surgery. And you overhear the doctor say, oh, this person's a male. We have a male, 35 years old, we need to prep for surgery. Does that definition of male comport to reality?
Yeah, because the doctor's using it in that biological sense, and they're biologically
male. Okay, very good. Now Meredith comes in with a penis and testicles, needs surgery. We got a 35-year-old, we need to prep for surgery, male. Does that comport to reality, that definition of male?
The same answer I gave when you asked that like a minute ago. Though.
Very good. So Meredith is a male when it comes to going to the hospital.
Well, it depends. If Meredith is inferring any... I'll give you the same answer I gave last time that you just like went around in a circle of. If Meredith is using it only in the biological sense and only in the same way that the doctor's using it, then that would be fine. If Meredith is inferring any other like social sense, like I'd like to be on a female ward or whatever, and female wards in the UK, it's basically synonymous with woman wards. If they're using it in a term like that, then I'd apply in that context. How is this that hard for you to understand, though? When additional context is needed, I apply the additional context. So if you're only talking about biological context, then only the biological definition applies.
Okay, but watch what happens.
Good Lord.
Watch what happens here.
In a hospital.
Watch what happens here.
What?
If so, Addison, if I were to go in the hospital and the doctor says, "Oh, we need to prep a male for surgery, 53-year-old male for surgery," is that reflecting of reality?
Yeah.
Notice
they're talking about you in the biological sense, and I assume you're biologically male.
Okay. You notice how short your answer was there? Okay, now watch what's going to happen. Be cognizant of your...
some answers need nuanced questions, and some answers can be answered very quickly.
Be cognizant of your own words.
It'd be weird if you assumed different things based on the length of an answer. That'd be really
ready, Addison?
Meredith... That'd be like just nonsensical, wouldn't it? Anyway, go on.
Okay, so let's recap. I go into the hospital, 53-year-old. The doctor says we've got a 53-year-old male needs prep for surgery. Does that reflect reality, the use of the term male there? You say...
I say in that context, yes.
Yes, very good. Now Meredith comes in.
In that context.
In that context
was important there.
We got your answer.
You're going to pretend I didn't say that a little bit. Yeah, go on.
Okay. Now Meredith comes in, who was born with a penis and testicles. And
imagine this. Meredith is
why won't you let me finish the question?
Imagine that, Doug. Can you imagine that? I've answered it 3 times already. You're asking the same question again.
I know, but I'm pointing out, I want you to hear yourself when you answer, okay? So here's the question. Now listen to yourself when
Doug,
you answer.
It's almost like I've thought this out a few times and like said it more than once.
So you don't even want to answer it again because you know where this is going.
You're the one, no, I've answered it 3 times. Again, the answer is the same one I gave before. Do you want me to say the answer again?
Yes.
The answer is Meredith is a different context, and therefore I would apply the context that Meredith is presenting to the situation, just like I applied the context that you're applying to the situation.
You cannot do it.
The subtext of you of you saying that stuff is, and the context is you're cis.
I want everybody to notice for the record how very easily Addison can say yes in that context. That's that use of the term male is reflective reality. Yeah. But as soon as I bring Meredith in,
okay, so phrase the question the right way around, and I'll give you a very short answer. Yes, in that context. You're just phrasing it the other way around. That needs the newest explanation. How stupid is this? You
want to try again?
You're making a point that how long my answers are, it's somehow infer like how correct they are.
Yes. You want to try again?
How nuanced the answers are. Wow. Okay. Well, I can't even begin to start with that fallacious reasoning. Yeah, just keep going with your nonsense, come.
Okay. So here's I'll give you another chance.
Get your stopwatches out, everybody. Get your stopwatches ready.
I'm recording this, so this will be great. So Addison, Meredith, who
make sure
who you know is a trans woman.
The timestamp on the screen so that people can see exactly how long I take to answer. Because if I go over 5 seconds,
if you answer short, I'm gonna love it. So I'm waiting to see what you do. So Meredith comes in, who you know is a trans woman, and she says. The doctor says, we have a male, 35 years old, let's assume Meredith's 35, who's needing prep for surgery. Is the use of the word male reflective reality there?
In that context, yes.
Excellent. Well done. It took you 5 tries, but you did it.
Doug, I said that over and over and over again and then clarified because you didn't seem to get it.
So Meredith, listen, does that...
The answer was always that short.
So Meredith...
You don't get it.
So I want to hear from Meredith now. Meredith, hearing Addison say that you are indeed a male in that context, that is reflective of reality, how does that make you feel?
Is my mic working?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, you can. Okay.
Are you totally okay with what Addison just said? That in that context, you're a male. That's reflective in reality.
I mean, I'm not gonna take it particularly hard because the context now is Addison is being asked stupid questions by Doug. So.
Well, my question to you, Meredith, is: do you accept Addison's answer that you are indeed a male being prepped for surgery in that context?
Yeah, Meredith, in this completely made-up context, that's never going to happen. Do you accept the answer?
It's not. What do you mean not going to happen?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, I'm always hanging around A&Es, Doug, just overhearing doctors speak about the patients. Yeah, just normal everyday conversation. That.
Yeah.
Be right back. I'm just overhearing a doctor right now. Can you please be quiet? Oh no, they said male. Male. Damn it. That's another bigoted doctor.
So. Doug, what percentage of hospitals...
Matt, let Meredith talk, because I interrupted them.
Well, Meredith didn't have a chance to answer.
Wait, answer what?
Meredith, I was wondering if you agree with Addison that in that context you are a male, and that in that context it's reflective of reality.
Well, I was going to point out that at least in Australia, that's not what the medical system does, and male and female are not necessarily helpful in that, as helpful as you think they are anyway. I believe my records are gonna have female written on them.
Right, but that doesn't mean you are a female, correct?
By your definition, if you really want.
No, in the definition that Addison and I were talking about, in the context of a surgery. In the context of surgery, are you male or female?
In the context of the surgery, well, they would presumably have my medical records, which, as far as I know, will say female because that's what my birth certificate says.
Meredith, are you telling me that you're a female in the context of surgery?
Doug, what will the medical records say?
But so the context of surgery, what would actually matter is what what organs I have, but also what chemicals are in me, which is different, right? Because I have estrogen in me because I take hormone replacement therapy.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
So
do you have a uterus?
So does male? No.
Did you have a uterus?
No.
Okay. Do you have testicles?
So, like, if your definition of male is just like penis and testicle haver, then sure.
Do you have XY chromosomes?
But then that's like, pardon?
Do you have XY chromosomes?
I have no idea. I haven't had my genetics like.
Are you intersex?
Tested? Not that I know of.
Okay, so you are a male in that context, yes?
I mean, sure.
There you go.
My point is literally just that from my experience, and maybe it works differently in different parts of the world, but from my experience, doctors do not typically have the need to use the word male in that way. For trans people or for anyone, really.
You don't think it's important for doctors to know if you're male or female?
Not as much as you think it does.
Well,
do you think that the only surgery is to balls and?
Of course not. But my question still stands.
Yeah, well, exactly.
I think this is a very
like
recent.
the individual person's differences, like from an individual to an individual, is going to matter more than if they're like if you're having lung surgery, right? There's differences on average between male and female, but it's going to be more important that the doctor know your individual makeup. That's way more important than knowing if you're male or female, because you and let's say you're male, you and a male could have differences that are way
I don't deny
more
that.
vast than you and a female.
For example,
so it depends on the context. If the only context that they're using it is to refer to like gonads,
I do not deny that, but
biological
do you guys deny?
Well, Meredith is introducing other contexts, social contexts. So that they're saying the doctor isn't just applying those biological contexts. The doctor might apply.
I don't deny that.
I'm talking about the ward.
Well, no, I do deny in the context of biology. We're talking about surgery here. Do you guys deny that there is at least some importance to whether the doctor knows you're male or female?
It depends on the surgery.
Okay, so that means
if you're having your little finger stitched back on, then no.
Okay, so what you just said is that in some cases, yeah, it is important, right?
No. In some cases,
by your definition of male
it's slightly
and female,
beneficial.
sure.
It can be slightly beneficial.
Slightly beneficial.
Don't switch around. You're switching around the words now to important. And now you're going to switch into be like the main factor. Just use the actual words you use when you asked us a question.
Yeah, like by your definition of male and female as well. Like, if your definition is just has these specific organs, then like, hey, I have a better way of saying that. It's saying has a penis and testicles.
What do you mean by better way of saying it? What do you mean?
What's more helpful?
Less ambiguous.
What's more helpful?
Less ambiguous.
You're saying it's more helpful to say penis and testicles rather than male?
Yes.
In a medical
some males
context,
don't have
yes.
penis and testicles. Can you imagine, Doug?
Yeah, I can imagine that. But given the averages, wouldn't you say that?
Okay, but doctors don't deal in averages; they deal in precisities, right? In this instance, that we're talking about. We're talking about in this instance, it might be more precise. And you can imagine cases where it's more precise to use dick and balls than male.
Okay, so would you?
How is that inarguable? That's inarguable.
So,
of course, that can be more precise if some males don't have dick and balls.
This is absolutely
insane. No, you're insane. What are you on about? You're chatting shit, mate.
Are you?
Of course, in some cases,
penis
it can be more precise
is 2 syllables. Testicles is
male.
3 syllables. That's 5 syllables, and all you can say is male, and you covered
We're
them all.
talking about precise, not long, not how long it takes to say the word. We're talking about precision of the term.
It's almost like
Doug literally can't. Doug is so incoherent. He can't like keep the word he said a sentence ago in his mind and repeat it back to himself. Why do you swap words out all the time, Doug?
What words have I swapped out?
Testicles is 5. It's 3 syllables. Thanks.
You swapped out. Well, you're now pretending the word precise means length for some reason, or how long it takes to say it. Like, what the fuck is wrong with your brain, Doug? Are you okay? Have you taken your meds? Like, what is wrong with you?
Are you done?
So
Meredith,
how silly you are if you keep being
so
silly,
Meredith,
yeah, for now.
if a doctor called you male versus a person with testicles and a penis, like, does one bother you more than the other?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, what do you want me to say? Like, I'm kind of used to that, right? So like in that context, like it kind of bothers me a little, I guess. If
May I ask why? Like, if a doctor in that
like
context called
if
you a male,
people,
why does that bother you?
I mean, Matt has linked the, the Wikipedia page to gender dysphoria already. Like, what?
Okay, but in
I
order
don't know
in
what
order
you
to be,
want.
have gender dysphoria, there has to be a difference between your perceived experience of sex, right? So in order for you to have gender dysphoria, you have to say, I am a male who has an experience of a woman, right?
Uh, it's more complicated than that, but okay.
Okay, so in order for gender dysphoria to having even any meaning, you have to admit you're a male.
Do I?
I think so, yes. In other words, what are you dysphoric about?
I mean, sir, the typical answer would be it's the let me get this right, sorry. It's the disparity between assigned sex at birth and like identity, right?
Okay. And so your identity
So
is
I
of
mean
a
I could go with
woman.
that if you want. Like
Okay, your identity is of a woman, correct?
yeah.
Okay, but your sex is a male, correct? And that's where the dysphoria
Sure, by
lies.
your definition. Well, I mean I just gave you an alternative,
Well,
but okay.
the alternative you gave me was as someone declaring you a male.
Yes.
So you're dysphoric about that declaration? You're not dysphoric about having a penis and testicles?
I mean, sure, but like, so the penis and testicles, that has a lot to do with like society and, you know, everything. Like,
Meredith, let's get deep. If you were born on an alien world with no humans and no males and females, man and woman, and they had Zuglorps and Glinglongs, would you be dysphoric about the fact you're not a male,
That,
or the fact that you are a male, or
that's a
whatever?
great question, by
Like,
the way.
no,
yeah, that's
of
hard
course
to
not.
say, right?
That's an excellent
That's hard
question.
to say.
Yeah, of course it's influenced by the society and how like society uses those terms.
I mean, I guess not. I, I mean, because I wouldn't have even seen anything that's like not, you know, any human that's not me, right? So, I
Okay,
I think I wouldn't be dysphoric like about my physical appearance in the same
Like
way
you
that I
might have
am
dysphoria, but
here
it
and
might
now.
it's probably not going to be gender dysphoria if there is literally no like man woman gender, right?
Yeah.
so Meredith, you just said you wouldn't be dysphoric about your physical appearance? Is that what you said?
I mean, it's kind of hard to, you know, just know what my behavior would be in that, like, oh, no, my behavior. It's kind of hard to know how I would feel in that circumstance that is, like, so completely different from my life, but
Like, I would think
I think
if
probably not. I don't know.
like, okay, how about like in that thought experiment, like there's no comparison. In fact, all you know, there's only one sex. And so
Right.
I don't,
Zoclops.
so I don't even know how you would have any dysphoria.
It's all globes.
Well, you could have dysphoria, you just wouldn't have gender dysphoria, or you might have gender dysphoria against the Zoclope gender, but it's not going to be about man or womanhood, is it?
Okay, so
Like dysphoria isn't just gender dysphoria. There's different types of dysphoria, right? Like you can be dysphoric about your body.
okay, but Meredith is not dysphoric about the body. Did I hear right?
Reddish is saying that they might be in this world. That was the point that they were.
Okay,
they
so Meredith, this is a sincere question because can you explain to me the dysphoria you actually go through? Like, what is it what standard are you comparing yourself to and saying, I'm not that, therefore I'm dysphoric?
I mean, I'm genuinely not convinced that I like understand it on a level that you want me to answer on, because, you know, see the mind is flat and so on. Like, I'm not convinced that the reasons I will come up with are like,
Don't worry about me, like whether or
I
not
don't
I
know,
agree with you.
actual.
Just explain, like tell me the best you can what this experience of dysphoria is like.
Well, I'm not worried about you. I'm worried about like I'm not convinced I have an answer, genuinely.
Okay, so then what makes you think you have any dysphoria?
Well, other than like I can tell you I feel it, right?
Okay, what do you feel?
But so the reason I'm like being super vague about it is because you said like, what am I comparing myself to, right? And that's a very complicated question, and I'm not sure I have an answer to that. What do I feel? I feel, I mean, I feel gross about certain masculine features that I have, yeah. Right? I feel gross about like my shoulders and the size of my rib cage and my face and my genitals and
Okay.
so on and so on. Like,
That's a
yeah.
great answer. I appreciate you answering that because I can understand that. I have a son who is like continually underweight and he eats and eats and eats and eats and eats and he tries to gain muscle mass and he can't, and he's very depressed about it. So I get that. But I would say my son, even though he has, let's say, more narrow shoulders than he would like and a smaller rib cage and all that, he's no less of a boy. He's no less of a man. He's 18 now. He's still a man, even though he doesn't feel good about his body.
I didn't say,
Well, that would be just normal.
but I mean,
Let's grant just one quick thing.
I didn't say I was
that
like,
wouldn't be gender dysphoria. That would just be normal
I didn't say,
dysphoria.
yeah. I'm not saying this is like more or less of what I am or something. I'm telling you, like, this is just on a very base level. Like, here are some things that make me feel bad. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, and I got things that make me feel bad. I wish I had a full head of hair, but I don't.
Like they're giving you examples, not a sufficient definition.
I understand, but okay, so would you say, Meredith, you have gender dysphoria?
Yeah.
And why do you think that?
Well, like, as in the examples I just listed, they're like,
Your shoulders?
right, yeah, shoulders and so on.
So your shoulders...
Pinecreek, are you looking for examples, or are you looking for a sufficient definition?
No, I'm not looking for... just looking for examples. I'm just trying to understand Meredith better. Because there's many people in the world who have men who have narrow shoulders but don't view themselves as a woman.
Yeah, but that seems like you're looking for a sufficient definition there, where you're giving like there's lots of examples of, say, depression and other like anxiety and ADHD that will overlap when giving examples, but they're not. So of course, saying, well, that seems like it could be this or this. Well, yeah, they're just examples that overlap with other things. They're not the sufficient definition.
Like, Meredith, what do you say to that? What I just said? Like, there's many men who are very unhappy with their shoulders, but don't view themselves.
I don't think they're
like.
Yeah.
What do you think is the difference between you and them?
Well, I mean, so as in, what's the difference between? Well, I guess that's sort of okay. Sort of the other way around. Okay. Sorry, I just...
You know what? Hey, Meredith.
Trying to like word things clearly.
And Meredith,
yeah.
You know what?
Yeah?
At any time, just say, I don't want to talk about this, and I'll respect your decision. That's totally fine with me. In fact, my family just got home, so I'm okay leaving this conversation. And I perceive that you're struggling with answering these questions, and that's not a diss on you. I'm not disrespecting you. but I can tell that this is a bit uncomfortable for you, and it's uncomfortable for me too, because I'm hearing you struggle, because it's totally okay for you to say, I don't know exactly why I'm feeling this way, and I accept that answer. So if that helps, you can just say I don't know, and I'll go spend time with my family now.
I'm also just trying to think of how to put it into words, and like precisely because, I mean, with how you've sort of, spoken about these things, like that, it seems like I really have to walk on those eggshells, right?
Yeah, please don't feel like I'm going to attack you. I've talked to many trans people, and I pride myself in saying that the face-to-face conversations I've had, I would say almost all of them have gone very, very, very well. And
it's more the interpretation I think they're getting at, Doug. It's more like we're
it's
used to
not-
saying certain terms, and like we have to think about how you're going to interpret it, and it's going to be interpreted differently. So we have to think more carefully about
Yeah,
the terms.
exactly.
It's not like
Yeah.
okay.
It's like you've already, called me a man in various ways. Like, if I was going to be upset by that, I would have left already.
Yeah, and I respect you for being here, and because I do think you're a male and a man. And
Thanks.
based on your
Very helpful.
on my definitions, but the fact that you're still willing to talk to me, given that I'm calling you both male and man, it sounds like you disagree on both. I respect that. Like, and because there's a lot of people, like if we were live streaming right now and you were a guest on someone's show and I called you both a male and a man, odds are I'd be booted. Well, I guess nobody can boot me here, but yeah, it's like you can't even disagree about this in certain circles.
I mean, yeah, there's a whole conversation. Oh, sorry.
I just could say just on that point about nobody can boot you. Just check chat Pinecreek.
Oh, someone can boot me? Okay.
Yeah, I can if I want to.
Okay. Anyhow, I should go because it's getting noisy in my house and my family just got home. So I appreciate the conversation. I do see inconsistencies, and I think people disagree. Even in the queer community and transactivist community, people have disagreements. And that video that started this whole conversation, it was basically just showing these inconsistencies that. On one hand, people use these gender terms like woman and man, and then on the other hand, they'll use terms like male and female, and then there's other trans activists who will combine the two. And so from the outside perspective, it seems like just a mess.